This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Once again, I'm delighted to be joined by trainer Ben Davison out here in Las Vegas. Ben, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm all good. It's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. Obviously, another one of your charges, Devin Haney, is getting ready for his own ring return come Saturday night against Joseph Diaz. Ben, since you've been out here for about a month of his camp. How has he been looking in comparison to the first camp you spent with him in the build-up to the Linares fight?
Yeah, it's just it's a natural progression, of course. The relationship grows, terminology, understand each other a little bit more. All of these kind of things, but each fight's its own fight, so each camp's different. But like I said, there's things that we was working on before that we'll take into this fight, and some things that he was doing in the last fight that we'll take out for this fight. So I'm confident Devin knows exactly what he needs to do, depending on whatever way Jojo wants to bring it.
You said whatever way Jojo wants to bring it. Speaking to him earlier, he said he's still going to, he wants to have that dog mentality. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to come forward. And most importantly, he wants to test Devin's heart. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
We know what he wants to do. He wants to try and close the gap, and he wants to try and close the gap quickly. Risky. He'll underestimate Devin's power, and if he carries on with that game plan, he'll get clipped coming in. It's as simple as that.
Do you think we've seen Devin show the full force of his power so far in his career?
No, not at all. I think that naturally he's just turned 23, physically mature, and I can say hand on my heart that I can see development in his physical maturity from the last camp to this camp, 100%. But also Linares, with the experience, he didn't rush his transitions, whereas the difference is I think that Jojo's going to rush his transitions. He's going to try and close that gap and try to close that gap quickly, which he will leave himself open to running into something. Whether that shot ends the fight, maybe not. However, there'll become a point in the fight where Jojo has to make a decision. Do I keep trying to do the same thing and risking running into more and more of those, which eventually they take its toll, or does he have to make an adjustment? And if he doesn't make the adjustment, I believe that there'll be a stoppage. If he does make the adjustment, we're prepared for adjustments that we feel he may make.
How big of a factor do you think the size difference will be? Jojo obviously starting out at 126, moving up. Devin, a very big 135. He's spoken openly about having one day potentially moving to 140 and even beyond. How big of a factor do you think that will be?
I don't think the size is astronomical. It's not, oh my God, it's impossible, David Goliath. Devin's got a bigger frame, he's a bigger guy naturally. But Jojo's short. He's not going to be the first opponent he's boxed that's taller. So I don't think, well, put it this way, we're not relying on size being the key factor.
I'm not saying it's the case, but obviously this past weekend we saw a huge shock with George Kambosos overcoming Teofimo Lopez. Has that just given Devin even more focus on this fight and to have the task at hand to know that he can't look beyond him and he's got to make sure he comes through Joseph Diaz before looking towards what could be a very promising 2022 for him? Yeah,
Devin knows that anyway. One thing I'll say about Devin is and again, it's another factor why I believe his ceiling to be so high. He's very honest with his opponents, like even sparring, he'll say, oh, that guy won a round off of me, or he's a good fighter, or he can punch hard, or whatever. Like with the Linares fight, going into the Linares fight, he said, when I sparred Linares, every punch was hard. He didn't need to pretend and lie to himself to say, oh, he can't punch. He doesn't need smoke blown up his arse. He's very realistic, and that's a key component, I think, in him being able to perform at his best. And the first day in the gym on the Monday when we spoke, I said, let's not talk about Teofimo, full focus on Jojo. He was like, yeah, of course. Then I heard Eddie say, I spoke to Devin and his dad straight after the fight, and the first thing Devin said was, focus on Joseph Diaz. So he already knows those things. His maturity is far beyond his years. So I wouldn't be relying on that as a tactic.
Ben, I do want to ask you about this past weekend. Obviously, Lopez Kambosos, I'm sure yourself, like everybody, tuned in and watched that fight, as well as Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton. But just to start with that one, what did you make of Kambosos' stunning shock victory?
Yeah, I think obviously it was a great victory. One thing that's key, I don't want to kick a man while he's down, and I think that it's important that for Teofimo, that me personally, my advice, he may think, what the fuck does he know? But sorry for swearing. But I think he just needs to take a little bit of time to process everything that sort of happened over the year, over the last 18 months or so, for him to really be able to process that information and just find himself and understand where he is, who he is, what he wants, and like I say, just process everything. So that's all I'll say on that. But as for Kambosos, brilliant performance. People talk about, oh, he landed that shot, wasn't a lucky shot. I can tell he worked on that shot, he set that shot up, and yeah, fair play to him.
Just with Teofimo, I know you said all you say on it, but there's been kind of question marks over the dynamic between himself and his father, and that moving forwards. What do you make of that relationship from a trainer and a fighter standpoint, never mind father and son? And because I was there, I never heard the ringside instructions, but I've seen a lot of people saying it was kind of very different. Every 10 seconds he was saying something different to Teofimo.
Yeah, same for his father. I'm sure the pair of them will go away, process everything that's happened, the victories, the ups, the downs, the losses, and work out what it is they want to do and the best way to go about it moving forward.
When you watch George on Saturday night, how difficult of a test do you think it will be for Devin Haney if that one was to take place in 2022?
Not even crossed my mind. Joseph Diaz is the main focus, because exactly that, Teofimo talking about Josh, talking about Devin, and look what happened. Like, he wasn't focused on George Kambosos. We are focused on Joseph Diaz.
I do. Jojo. Eventually we got there. I do just want to ask one more on it though. If that one was to be made next year, do you think Devin would be willing to travel to Australia?
Money talks, bullshit walks. Devin's willing to box anybody, as long as it maximises the financial capacity for both fighters and it makes sense for both fighters. I'm sure both fighters will be happy to take the fight. The whole thing about the undisputed is that there is no dispute. So, God willing, Devin comes through Saturday night. That's the fight that really should be made from both parties to really make sure that there's no dispute on who the undisputed is.
Just final one on all of that before we move forwards. What was Josh's reaction?
Same thing Josh put on Twitter. Don't want to kick a man while he's down. It is what it is. You have to respect this sport. You have to respect this sport. You have to respect your opponent. Humble in preparation, confident in action. Respect your opponent's skills. You need to know what your opponent's good at, know what he's not good at, know which areas he's better than you in. Know which areas he's better than you in, because you are not the dominant one in every single scenario that can happen in that ring. You need to realistically prepare for scenarios that do not favour you. Be humble in preparation, but be confident in action. Yeah.
Would you be willing to train him if he was to come and ask you for some work? Given that obviously you're working with Devin as well, and obviously you have a commitment with Josh.
Team Haney, Team Taylor.
Mix it up a bit. But Ben, just moving forwards and away from that one, we also saw a terrific unification bout between Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa. Did you manage to catch it?
I was there.
Oh, you was there? Okay, so what did you make of it?
Me personally, I actually thought Figueroa won the fight. This is the God's honest truth, I got up and left before the announcement got made because I was that confident, Figueroa's got that. I know fights aren't scored in that way, but I felt like the fight played out more so how Figueroa would have liked it to play out on his terms. And hurt Fulton 3 times, I think it was, throughout the fight. The overall picture, I know I didn't sit there score it round by round. I know you don't score fights with an overall picture, but the overall picture, I was like, oh, Figueroa's took that. So I was a bit shocked when I read the decision back on Twitter, but an amazing fight, one of the best fights I've seen live. Fulton, great fight. I don't think the referee done him any favours, if I'm honest, but he showed tremendous courage and heart and grit. Figueroa looked like a little monster in there, so great fight, and I'd like to see it again, to be honest.
Final one before I let you go. Back in the UK, Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard 2 this Saturday night. Your take?
I haven't watched too much of it. It's a good fight. I think the adjustments will have to be made from both guys, and whoever makes the smartest adjustments will surely be victorious.
Well, Ben, we will leave it there, and I'll leave you to shoot off and try and find the rest of the team, because I know I've kept you for too long, but I appreciate your time, mate. Good luck on Saturday if I don't catch you beforehand, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
No problem. Thank you.
You